And I'd like you to give a great Manchester welcome to Annette Wright, who's President of the Trades Council here in Manchester, who has been a guest blogger on Unison's website and who has given great support to the organising of this march. Please welcome Annette.
Hiya folks. Manchester Trades Council is the local body of the TUC that coordinates action between branches in Manchester. And I would like to thank the North West TUC and Unison for inviting me to speak today. And there's terrible feedback up here, for inviting me to speak today. Because it's great that I'm going to be followed by some General Secretaries. But I think it's important as well that people like me, local grassroots activists, are able to address gatherings like this, because we are the people who build for events like this in our workplaces and our branches and our communities. And we are the people who will be building the workplace action and the industrial action that we are going to need if the trade union movement is to play its full and proper role in this campaign against austerity. I'd like to thank you all for coming here into Manchester today, whether you're local and you've just come into town, or whether you have come from outside of our city. It is great to have an event like this in a city like Manchester, which has such a history of trade unionism. The TUC was founded here in 1868 by the Manchester and Salford Trades Councils. And when you think back to those times, it's very difficult to imagine what life must have been like then. But I tell you what, it's very difficult, it would have been very difficult even 5 years ago to imagine what life was going to be like here in Britain in 2014. We are seeing things that many of us thought we would never see in our lives again, and which many of us have never seen before. There are people sleeping on the streets in significant numbers. There are people who have no homes. There are people who are relying on food banks. There are people who are being driven to the edge of suicide and who are being driven over that edge and who are starving to death because they have been unable to find a way through a benefit system which was designed as a social security safety net, but which in the hands of this government has turned into some sort of sick social experiment to see how people fare with no money whatsoever in a society where the only way to meet your most basic human needs is to pay for them. This government is vicious and it is evil, and it is time it went. We said in this city in May that we had had enough of these Tories, whether they be card-carrying members of the Conservative Party or whether they be people who describe themselves as Liberal Democrats, yet are prepared to prop up a government which has no democratic mandate at all without them, and which goes far, far further than being simply illiberal in its vicious class hatred of those of us who cannot work and those of us who do work to keep society going and to create the wealth that is going so disproportionately to people at the top at the moment at the expense of the rest of us. I am glad we got rid of these lot from our City Council in May, and I hope that next May we will take the opportunity to get rid of the last Tory appeaser standing here in Manchester when we vote out the MP for Manchester Withington and replace him with someone better. You know, folks, voting is important. And for some of us, life is so difficult and so hard that voting is all we can reasonably be expected to do. But some of us can do more. We are working. We do have a bit more money coming in. And most importantly, we are members of trade unions. And the union movement is playing its role in this campaign. Since the huge march for the NHS last September, we have seen workers at the universities achieve a pay rise which, although small, was 100% more than they would have achieved if they had not gone out on strike. I think we should congratulate those workers on what they did achieve. We are seeing a worldwide campaign for fast food workers' rights, led here by the BFAWU and involving the trades councils and other unions. All these workers want is an hourly rate of pay which is reasonable and the guarantee of enough hours of work to be able to use that rate of pay to make ends meet. I hope we will all show our support for those workers today. And then we have the firefighters, who are absolutely determined that they are not going to give in their fight for the perfectly reasonable request that they should be allowed to have a few years of happy retirement in exchange for spending their lives prepared to risk their lives so that the rest of us do not have to. I hope we will all send our solidarity to the Fire Brigades Union today. And then we have other workers with different employers, different pay claims, but all the same issues. That we just want enough money to be able to live. We want enough money to be able to live happy and fulfilled lives in this rich country in the 21st century. In July, we saw teachers and civil servants and local government workers out on strike together. And there is more strike action to come. It is the position of the TUC and of the trades councils that we should have coordinated industrial action when it is possible. I would say it is possible now, when we are being kicked about daily by this Tory government. We need as many people as possible out on strike on the 14th of October, and I hope all of you who are not part of that campaign will support those of us who are. I want to say one last thing about Manchester. As well as being a trade union city, this is a city which has seen major social changes over the years. Many, many people have stood here at events like this, involved in the campaign for the right for us all to be able to vote, and the campaign for the abolition of slavery in this country. Many of those people must have thought that maybe what they wanted was so extreme that it might even be impossible. There is a lie going round in this country at the moment that it is impossible to have an alternative to austerity. If you take one thing away from this event today, I hope it will be that you tell yourself that you will never ever allow this lot at the top to make you believe that change is impossible. Change is entirely possible if enough people like us want it enough to do enough to make it happen. It is possible for us to have a better society where the poor don't have to suffer just to make the rich richer. And I hope you will now join me in sending a message to the Tory government down in London. I want to say to them, we have already demonstrated that we don't want you here. This is our city. This is our Manchester. We want to do things differently here. What I want to say to you now is this is our world as well. It's not just the world of the rich. We all live here. And however much you attack us and whatever lies you tell, we will not stop standing up to you, because we know that a fairer world, a better world, is possible.
Thank you, Annette. Spoken from the heart. And Annette's right, it's the grassroots who will help chase this government away, the government of the rich. It's my great pleasure now to